Elvis Presley was the king of rock and roll. Before he died, he left a lasting mark on music and charity. Throughout his life, he kept his privacy very safe by spending most of his time with a small group of close friends. Now, more than 40 years after he died, his bodyguard, who is now 81 years old, has finally come forward to say what people have been saying for a long time. This shocking new information could add another story to the tale of Elvis. Watch this video to find out. At age 81, Elvis Presley's butler finally reveals what people have been saying. Elvis Presley's protector and close friend Sonny West, whose full name was West Delbert Brian West Jr., was someone the king of rock and roll could trust. He and his cousin Red West worked for Elvis for 16 years. To those close to Elvis, Sonny was a regular at Graceland, where Elvis lived with his family. This group was also known as the Memphis Mafia. Elvis really upset me a few times, but he made me laugh most of the time. One thing never changed though. Music. While things were going on, the music was always there. Of course, I think of him every day when I'm thinking about him. His kindness is always the thing that stands out the most. People wondered for years if the whispers that Elvis might be more than just a star and the man on stage and screen were true. People asked him if he really did have a soft heart and if the talk of him being kind behind closed doors was true. At age 81, I can finally say yes. There is one story that I've told my whole life that proves the rumors were true. That's the kind of story that stays with you even after a long time. It's like those old family stories about a brave act or a single moment that changes everything. That moment for me was the first time I saw Elvis show a side of himself that no one else saw. A business daily in Memphis ran a story about a small woman who had been born without legs from the hips down. This was the start of everything. Even though she had problems, she had kids, raised them, and was now helping to raise her grandkids. She moved around on a wooden board that had roller skates attached to the bottom of it. A pair of sticks with leather handles like ski poles helped her move around. She pulled herself across the floor with them. We thought about that picture of her, of how strong and determined she looked. The story was found by Marty Lacker, who was always aware of what was important. He brought the paper up to the house. It was a quiet morning. Elvis and a few of us were at the dining room table going about our daily lives. He slid the paper across the table and told everyone to read it when they had time. Elvis nodded, finished his meal, and then picked it up. There was no sound in the room while he read. He didn't say anything. As soon as he looked up though, his voice was clear. There was only calm, straight confidence. Find out where she lives. With the help of the newspaper, Marty called them and made it happen. Elvis quickly took action and bought the most expensive electric wheelchair that was offered. Since there was no back and forth, there was no need to talk. He knew what to do all along. A few of us went with him. We are Priscilla, Marty, Allen, Richard, Billy, and myself. We drove to her house after putting the wheelchair in the car. We carefully carried it to the front door when we got there. Her husband answered. He used to work on the train and made us feel welcome. He called her name, and soon we heard her walking through the house. It was clean inside and out. The kitchen floors were linoleum and sparkled like glass. The carpet was a true white. Everywhere you looked, pride was spoken of. She then came out of nowhere and gasped when she saw the wheelchair. She whispered, oh my," and tears came right away. She didn't need to ask. She knew it was clear to her. It was for her. Her tears came quickly, and so did ours. Gentle together, Elvis on one side and I on the other, we picked her up and put her in the chair. The fabric, the arms and the buttons were all touched. She moved her hands slowly and with respect. After that there was a holy moment between us in that quiet room. It was strange to see the chair, but it meant everything. It wasn't just moving around. It had to do with respect. It gave people freedom. It gave me hope. There was not a big news story. No, not from the Elvis Presley name. It's just the truth. She owned the chair. It was sent by someone who cared. She kept crying, and neither did ours. It was too much to handle, how pure the moment was, and how much it meant. We had to go. It was too much to say. Outside, said in a quiet voice, what we were all thinking. She might not even know who he is. That wasn't important though, because she didn't need to know about Elvis the star. It was enough for her to know this. Someone cared about her and saw her. That person changed her life without any cameras or crowds. Now, after all these years, I finally say it out loud. It's true what they said. Elvis was more than just a story. He was kind and didn't expect anything in return. It was real to me. After hearing from Elvis Presley's Bodyguard about how kind he was, let's look into his charitable impact in more depth. People's lives were changed by Elvis Presley's kindness. Many people are very grateful for Elvis Presley's kindness, but not many people really understand how generous he was throughout his life. These donations, which added up to thousands of dollars, helped charities, groups and people who needed help. From the beginning of his work, he made it a point to give back, and that determination became his legacy. One time this happened was when Elvis bought the U.S. Potomac and gave it to St. Jude Children's Hospital in Memphis. The hospital later sold it as a fundraiser to help with its work. Even when he was just starting out, Elvis was known for being kind. He gave toys to a marine drive that helped kids. He also gave $1,050 to Humes High School so that all 1,400 students could go to the blind football game held every year as part of the E.H. Crump Memorial Honor. During his time in Germany in 1959, he also did a kind thing by giving blood to the German Red Cross at the Vorturm Barracks in Friedberg. Elvis never forgot where he came from, and he always backed his city. He went back to Tupelo in 1956 and 1957 to play benefit shows that raised money for a park and youth center. He also helped people when bad things happened. After a terrible tornado hit Macomb, Mississippi, in January 1975, Elvis put together and played at a benefit show in May of that year. At this important event, he gave Mississippi Governor Bill Waller a check for more than $100,000 to help the city rebuild. The desire to help others spread even more across the country. He held a benefit event in 1961 to raise money for the U.S. Arizona Memorial at Pearl Harbor. The concert raised more than $65,000 for the cause. In 1973, he showed his kindness again by giving all the money from his famous Aloha from Hawaii satellite event to the Kuit Cancer Fund. This helped bring attention to cancer research and raise money for it. What might have happened that Elvis Presley's Bodyguard would talk now after all these years? Keep listening to find out. The story that hasn't been told about why Elvis's security were fired. Sonny West and Dave Hebler were fired from their jobs as protectors for Elvis Presley in July 1976 by Elvis's father, Vernon Presley. Elvis and Red had been friends since high school, and their friendship had gotten stronger over time. In 1955, he became a valued member of Elvis's close group and was hired as both his driver and bodyguard. Elvis first met Sonny, Red's cousin, in early 1958. He started working for Elvis in 1960, after Elvis came back to fame after 2 years in the U.S. Army. When Hebler met Elvis for the first time in 1972, he was hired as part of the security team. There has been a lot of disagreement about why they were fired, with different people giving different reasons. Elvis and his father said that the decision was made to cut costs and lower payroll costs. But some people, including those close to Elvis, thought that there was a deeper reason. Red, Sonny and Hebler were the only ones who were brave enough to talk to Elvis about his growing drug addiction. According to another reason, their security measures sometimes hurt fans, which led to cases against Elvis, which he could no longer afford to risk. In the past, Elvis would sometimes fire people close to him, only to hire them again later when things calmed down. A lot of friends, including Red, Sonny, Hebler and others, thought this would probably happen again. But before things could be worked out, the three guys started writing a book that would tell a lot. A lot of people also knew that Vernon Presley didn't like most of the guys in his son's close-knit group of friends. Many people close to Elvis thought that Vernon would have done everything he could to keep Elvis from hiring them again. The three men chose to write an open and honest book about their time with Elvis after they were fired. They said their goal wasn't money or getting even. Their story was that the book was an attempt to help Elvis face the truth about his toxic lifestyle before it was too late. They hired Steve Dunleavy, who used to write a gossip piece for the National Star and is now a correspondent for A Current Affair, to help them write and sell the book. Elvis was very angry when he heard about the project. He hoped that either the three men would change their minds, or that Colonel Tom Parker, his boss, could find a way to stop it from being out there. From the points of view of Red, Sonny and Hebler, the book gave a behind-the-scenes look at Elvis's everyday life. There were details about his personal life, drug use, music business, and connections with the three guys quoted. As a safety measure, many of the names in the book were changed, which made some readers wonder if the things and people it talked about were really happening. Still, writer Alan Hansen later said that the book Elvis: What Happened became more credible right away after Elvis's death from drug problems. The headline asked the same question that everyone had at the time. Over the next few years, more people who used to be close to Elvis came forward, confirming some of the book's claims but not all of them. One of Elvis's best friends, Jerry Schilling, said about the book, "Elvis's home is the only private place he has. What takes place there should be kept secret. What does Elvis Presley do? Who is the famous man behind the stories that his bodyguard told? Check back to find out." When Elvis Presley went from being a poor kid to a world-famous star, it was during the Great Depression when Elvis was born in a small house in Tupelo, Mississippi. Vernon and Gladys Presley, his parents, had a hard time with money, but they were very Christian and went to church every week. Elvis heard religious music for the first time in this church. It would later influence his style of music. Music had always been important to his family, even though they didn't have much money. Elvis's love for music began when he was 11 years old and got his first guitar. Rather than taking official lessons, he took part in local talent shows to show off his growing skills. When she was 13, she and her family moved to Memphis, Tennessee in search of better chances. People knew Elvis as a shy but skilled singer who went to Humes High School. He brought his guitar to school and played for his friends during lunch breaks. They loved how good he was. Blues, gospel, and rhythm and blues were the most popular types of African American music in Memphis. Elvis spent time in music stores and saw shows that helped shape his unique sound. Elvis cut "That's All Right" at Sun Studio in 1954, and he paid for the session himself. Elvis's first record, My Love, was a mix of styles that both white and black people liked. Sam Phillips, the owner of Sun Records, saw right away that Elvis had a lot of promise. After Elvis's career took off, he became famous for his electric stage personality and image of being a rebel. Many of his songs, like Heartbreak Hotel, Hound Dog, and Don't Be Cruel, became big hits. He became a leading person in the rock and roll scene as his fame grew. People called Elvis Elvis the Pelvis because of his daring and sometimes controversial stage acts, which only made him more popular. Elvis started performing live again in 1968, and his '68 comeback special was a big turning point in his career. After working on movies for years, the special with its private performances helped him become known again as a serious musician. Compared to the flashy shows he did early in his career, his acts became more simple and true to who he was. In 1973, Elvis's Aloha from Hawaii concert was shown live around the world via satellite, making him even more famous around the world. This event was a turning point in his career. It showed how far he had come and how his acts had changed over time. His shows became more commercialized over time, focused more on showmanship and fan favorites than on new music. He was a pioneering force in music, and his work continues to inspire new generations of fans. Elvis will always be remembered as the king of rock and roll because he was able to keep up with changing music styles while keeping true to his roots. Even after he died in 1977, his popularity grew, and people all over the world still loved his songs. Aside from his work, did Elvis Presley ever find true love? If so, did it make him happy? Check back to find out. The moving story of Dixie Locke and Elvis Presley's early love life is told in Elvis Presley's First Love. Many people would say that Elvis Presley and Dixie Locke Emmons had a clean connection because it was so real and special. Years passed before Elvis became known as the king of rock and roll. Things between them were simple, honest, and full of hope at first. But as Elvis's fame grew, it got harder for them to stay together. Even though being a growing star caused some problems, their love was a big part of Elvis's early life and continued to have a big impact on him in many ways. They met for the first time at the First Assembly of God Church in Memphis, Tennessee in 1953. Elvis and his family had just moved there from Tupelo. Being told that the popular Southern gospel group the Blackwood Brothers went to the church made Elvis and his family start going there. Elvis was 19 years old, and Dixie was only 15. He was seen by her. He liked her too, even though he was shy at the time. To get his attention, Dixie planned a fun activity with her friends. They were going roller skating. She made sure Elvis heard about their plans. At that point, Elvis was well known, and Dixie, a pretty girl from the area, felt attracted to him. She couldn't stay away from him because of his growing fame, unique style, and good looks. Elvis quickly won people over, even Dixie, with his long hair and charm. They began dating in January 1954, and it was a sweet and easy relationship. Between 3 and 4 nights a week, they would hang out together and enjoy some alone time. Elvis went to Dixie's Southside High School's prom on May 6, 1955, and their friendship grew stronger. They found more things they had in common as they got closer, and Elvis told his family about Dixie. His parents loved her and accepted her as if she were their own daughter. They hoped that she and Elvis would get married one day. The thing Dixie liked most about Elvis was how much he loved his mother. He always called her the first lady of his heart. Their love was simple. They did simple things together, like going to church together, which made Elvis feel safe and secure. They also liked dancing at events in their community. Their wish was to live a quiet, private life without the stress of fame. But that dream quickly went away as Elvis's career took off. His fame made him busier, and Dixie got less of his time as he got busier. Still, Elvis's love for Dixie was a big boost, and her words of support helped him stay grounded. She made him think of his roots and the things that were important to him. However, as Elvis's fame grew, their relationship got worse. His fan base grew as he went on more trips. He wrote Dixie love notes while he was on tour, but she started to notice that he was acting differently. Elvis began to change how he looked by dyeing his hair black and dressing in more flashy clothes, which made his female fans love him even more. His new look made him even more appealing. During this time, Elvis also met other women who were interested in him, such as Wanda Jackson and June Carter. He told Dixie that he loved her, but what he did was different. Elvis started to flirt with other women, and would sometimes kiss them behind the scenes. He seemed to be drawn in by the attention from these women. He finds it harder to keep his mind on Dixie. As his fame grew, so did the distance between them, and things got worse between them. Even though they had a past together, Elvis's growing fame and the temptations that came with it eventually tore them apart. Elvis and Dixie broke up on good terms, which marked the end of an important part of their lives for both of them. Dixie said she never stopped liking Elvis. Even after they broke up, she watched his work from afar, and told him that as her first love, he would always have a special place in her heart. She still loves thinking about the times they spent together. Too often, Elvis thought about his time with Dixie and how easy life was back then. Their love story shows how important a first love can be. Dixie got married to someone else and had kids after they broke up. After that, Elvis married Priscilla Presley, and the two of them had a daughter. There was finally love for Elvis, and they got married. Aside from his fame and the stories people tell about Elvis Presley, did he really have problems? Which ones were they, and was he able to get past them? How hard things were for Elvis Presley. In the years before he died, Elvis Presley had a number of health problems. A lot of people think that his failing health is related to his drug abuse. Author and researcher Alana Hoddle, on the other hand, thinks there's more to the story than what most people think. According to Hoddle, his mother died at the age of 46 after her health had been getting worse for 4 years. He also lost 3 uncles on his mom's side to liver and heart problems, when they were 46, 49 and 58 years old, she said. Hoddle says that Elvis's health problems and his premature death were caused by a bigger problem that ran in his family. Many people think that Elvis's bad health was due to the way he lived, which is partly true, she said. But the truth is that he couldn't change a lot of the things that were making his health worse. Elvis's health problems were caused by more than just his fame. Hoddle said that Elvis's health was bad in 9 of the body's 11 main systems. He had at least 5 of these issues before he became famous, and were most likely caused by genes, she said. These illnesses weren't brought on by the stress of his fame or his problems with prescription drugs. Besides that, he often turned to self-medication to deal with his long-term health issues. As Elvis's last year got closer, his health kept getting worse. Hoddle said that he spent a lot more time in his bedroom at Graceland in the last year of his life. He wasn't feeling well between trips. Besides being good for his health, Elvis's time away from the public eye while he served in the military for 2 years had a big effect on him. Hoddle said that Elvis was very worried while he was in the U.S. Army from 1958 to 1960. Hoddle said that he was chosen when he was very popular and worried that his fans would forget about him while he was away serving his country. When Elvis came back to the public eye after being in the military, it was a big deal. He was still very famous when he came back with the show on Frank Sinatra. Hoddle said, he quickly made a string of hit movies after that. Even though he had a lot of success after coming back, Elvis chose to stop acting in movies and focus on his first love, singing. Hoddle said that Elvis always knew he would come back to performing live. He loved being Elvis Presley, so it was a normal part of his job. Even though his career was going well, Elvis had a lot of emotional problems because of all the attention he got from being famous. His fame put a lot of stress on his relationships, especially with his family and love partners. It was hard for him to keep any sense of privacy because he was so well known, which put stress on his personal life. Elvis was worn out by the weight of his fame, especially since he was so young. Hoddle said that it was very hard for him to balance his public and private lives. The constant attention made him feel alone, and he often had problems with loneliness because he didn't feel linked to other people. Hoddle said Elvis always felt like he was being watched closely, which made him feel alone and confused. His relationships with women got tense because of Elvis's fame. The public's never-ending interest in his personal life put a lot of stress on him and those closest to him. As time went on, the stress and close attention of being watched by many people caused strain. A lot of Elvis's relationships ended because the people in them couldn't handle the stress. Fame came with a lot of problems that made it hard for Elvis to trust the people around him. Is the people in his life really interested in him as a person, or are they just interested in his fame? Because he didn't trust others, it was hard for him to build real meaningful connections, which made him feel even more alone. Elvis leaned on a small group of close friends, including members of the Memphis Mafia and his love partners, to help him deal with the stresses of fame and personal problems. But his ongoing need for privacy and safety from the public made things more tense, which made it harder for him to keep his personal life calm and peaceful. Elvis Presley's life shows how hard it is to deal with the stresses of fame while also trying to keep up personal ties. His life shows how hard it can be to match a public image with personal needs, and how being one of the most famous people in the world can affect every part of your life. Could his problems have been what brought him down, or did he get past them? Keep listening to find out. The last days and legacy of Elvis Presley. The sad news is that Elvis Presley died of a heart attack on August 16, 1977. First results from Elvis's autopsy showed that he died of cardiac arrhythmia, a condition that makes the heart beat irregularly, according to the New York Times. Dr. Jerry Francisco, the Shelby County coroner, who did the autopsy, spent 2 hours carefully looking over Elvis's body. For a while, it wasn't clear what caused the heartbeat, which led many people to think that Elvis might have died from an overdose. Reports that 10 different prescription drugs were found in his body at the time of his death gave this idea more support, but in October, the New York Times made it clear that drugs were not the main reason Elvis died. Even though prescription drugs were found in his body, ischemic heart disease and coronary artery heart disease were the listed causes of death. These findings were made clear in Dr. Francisco's written report. Elvis's longtime friend and personal doctor, Dr. George Nicopolis, told the New York Times that he didn't think Elvis had a major drug problem, even though he did admit that Elvis had taken drugs by mistake over time. There were many health issues that Elvis had in the years before he died. He had been to the hospital 4 times in 5 years for problems linked to high blood pressure and an impacted stomach. He also had some problems with his stomach and a minor form of diabetes. Even after the coroner's decision, reports about drugs being involved in Elvis's death kept going around. Family members and close friends were honest about his continued problems with controlled drugs. David E. Stanley, who was Elvis's stepbrother and wrote Bodyguard, wrote a frank book about the event in 2016 called My Brother Elvis: The Final Years. Stanley said that his job often felt more like watching, and he was angry by saying, "I felt more like a nursing home aide." In an interview with People in 1989, Stanley admitted that he didn't fully understand Elvis's addiction and felt powerless. "I had this naive belief that Elvis could do anything," he said. Even overcome a prescription drug addiction. His fiancée, Ginger Alden, found him asleep at his famous Graceland home in Memphis, Tennessee on the day he died. He was found lying on the bathroom floor in his master bedroom, which was a holy space for him and only his closest friends and family could enter. Graceland, which had 18 rooms and was worth $1 million, was where Elvis could get away from the stress of being famous. He could get away from the constant attention at this secret hideaway. Graceland has had millions of tourists since it opened to the public in 1982. The second floor of the house, on the other hand, is still locked up because the family wants to keep their privacy. Several things about the house make it stand out, like the kitchen, where Elvis used to make his famous peanut butter and banana sandwiches, and the jungle room, which was later turned into a recording studio. People can also look around the meditation garden, which is a peaceful place where Elvis is buried with other family members, solidifying his place in both the public and private histories of the man. What do you think about the things Elvis Presley's guardian said? Do you think Elvis really lived a happy life before he died so tragically? Leave a comment below and let us know. Thanks for seeing this movie. We hope it was interesting for you. Remember to like and subscribe. You can watch the next movie on your screen to catch up on your favorite famous news. I'll see you there.